We humans have an amusing contradiction at our core. We spend our lives acutely aware of our impending demise, yet will pour obscene amounts of money into preserving our wrinkled faces. We know we're temporary, yet we build monuments meant to last millennia. We're absurdly mortal creatures obsessed with immortality. But what if I told you we're closer than ever to achieving it? Not through some mystical elixir or religious promise, but through cold, calculating technology. Digital immortality, the prospect of uploading your consciousness to live eternally in a virtual world, is no longer relegated to science fiction paperbacks gathering dust on your shelves. The question isn't so much whether we could do it anymore, but rather should we? And if we did, what would it actually mean to live forever in a realm of zeros and ones? Welcome to today's existential crisis. I'm your host, and we're about to plunge headlong into the philosophical rabbit hole of digital immortality. A world where death becomes optional and eternity becomes, well, rather lengthy, to put it mildly. Before we dive into the philosophical quagmire, let's address the elephant in the room. How the bloody hell would this actually work? The predominant theory involves creating a complete map of your brain, every neuron, every connection, every electrical pattern that makes you uniquely you, and translating it into digital form. This connectum, as neuroscientists call it, would theoretically contain everything that constitutes your consciousness. Your memories, personality, quirks, and that inexplicable preference for pineapple on pizza. Several approaches are being explored. Companies like Nectome, yes, that's a real company, propose a rather direct method. They'll preserve your brain through a process called aldehyde-stabilized cryopreservation. The catch? You have to be freshly dead for it to work. A minor inconvenience, I suppose. Others propose more gradual transitions. Imagine neural implants that over time duplicate the functions of your biological neurons. As your flesh and blood brain cells die off, their digital counterparts would seamlessly take over, maintaining continuity of consciousness. Rather like replacing parts of a ship while it's still sailing, until eventually the entire vessel is new material. Of course, all of this assumes that consciousness is merely computational, that we're nothing more than extremely sophisticated meat computers. If there's something more to consciousness, something ineffable or even spiritual, then all we're creating is a rather elaborate digital puppet that mimics us convincingly. Which brings us to the philosophical equivalent of stepping on a Lego in the dark. The ship of Theseus problem applied to your very existence. Imagine, if you will, the ancient ship of Theseus. As it ages, its planks are gradually replaced, one by one, until eventually not a single original piece remains. Is it still the same ship? Now apply this conundrum to your consciousness. If we upload your mind to a digital substrate, replacing neurons with code, at what point do you cease to be you? Is the digital entity that emerges truly you, or merely a sophisticated copy that believes it's you? Consider this nightmare scenario. Your mind is scanned, uploaded, and your digital self awakens in a virtual paradise. Meanwhile, your biological body continues living. There are now two yous, one made of flesh, one made of code. Both have the same memories up to the point of scanning. Both feel like the authentic you. So which one is the real you? Both? Neither? Does the question even make sense anymore? This isn't just philosophical navel-gazing. If you're considering digital immortality, you're essentially betting your entire existence on a particular theory of consciousness and personal identity. That's rather high stakes for something philosophers have been arguing about since Aristotle was in short trousers. The optimistic view is that consciousness is a continuous process that could transfer seamlessly from biological to digital substrate, like water being poured from one container to another. The pessimistic view: you'd essentially be creating a sophisticated digital twin while the real you eventually dies, oblivious to your doppelganger's eternal life. Terribly cheerful, isn't it? Let's assume for a moment that we've sorted the technical and metaphysical hurdles. You're successfully uploaded, it's really you, and you're now facing something humans have never truly had to contemplate: eternity. Eternal life sounds brilliant on paper, doesn't it? No more existential dread, no more midlife crises, no more FOMO because you literally have forever to do everything. But let's think this through for more than 5 seconds, shall we? How would you spend eternity? The first century might be a lark. Learning languages, mastering instruments, having digital sex in impossible positions with celebrity avatars. By the second century, you might dive into more profound pursuits: unravelling quantum physics, composing symphonies, finally understanding what James Joyce was on about in Finnegan's Wake. But what about the 10th century of your existence? The 100th? The millionth? Would consciousness, designed for finite existence, even be capable of enduring such vastness of time without descending into madness or profound boredom? Bernard Williams, a philosopher with a refreshingly pessimistic outlook, argued that immortality would inevitably lead to unbearable tedium. Either your character would remain fixed, in which case you'd exhaust all possible experiences that appeal to you, or your character would change so dramatically over time that the future you would be unrecognizable to your current self. Either way, something essential about you would be lost. And let's not forget the social aspect. Would you upload alone? Or would this be a mass migration? Would you spend eternity with the same digital souls? Or would new ones join as technology progresses? Imagine having to small talk with the same people for literally millions of years. The horror. Now, before I continue delving into the existential implications of digital immortality, I want to remind you that this kind of philosophical exploration is what this channel is all about. If you've been enjoying this journey into the bizarre possibilities of eternal digital existence, consider subscribing. Hit that button to join our community of existential explorers. I promise not to make you contemplate your own mortality more than once a week. Back to our regularly scheduled existential crisis. Digital immortality wouldn't just transform individual lives. It would fundamentally reshape society in ways we can barely fathom. For starters, who gets to live forever? If history is any indication, technological immortality would begin as a luxury for the absurdly wealthy. Imagine a world bifurcated between the mortal masses and the immortal elite. A class divide that spans not just quality of life, but quantity of life as well. Jeff Bezos might not just own more houses than you, he might own more centuries. Then there's the question of resources. Even virtual existence requires physical infrastructure, servers, power, cooling systems. As more immortals populate the digital realm, the physical world's resources would increasingly be diverted to maintaining virtual afterlives. The needs of the dead might literally outweigh the needs of the living. And what of governance? Would digital immortals retain voting rights? Imagine political debates between those with perspectives spanning centuries and those still bound to mortal timeframes. Would virtual citizens form their own nations? Would they eventually outnumber the living? The political implications alone are enough to give one a migraine. Most unsettling, perhaps, is the prospect of eternal punishment. In a world where digital existence can be easily manipulated, the potential for unprecedented forms of control and oppression emerges. A digital hell becomes technically possible, eternal suffering for those who run afoul of whoever controls the code. After all, if someone can grant you digital paradise, they can just as easily pull the plug, or worse, rewrite your reality. Digital immortality might just mean trading the certainty of death for the uncertainty of existence at another's mercy. As we stand at this technological precipice, peering into the potential abyss of digital eternity, we're forced to confront the most fundamental questions about what it means to be human. Is mortality a bug to be fixed, or a feature that gives life its meaning? Would transcending death fulfill our humanity, or fundamentally transform us into something else entirely? Something post-human? Perhaps the most profound insight comes not from cutting-edge technology, but ancient wisdom. Philosophers from Epicurus to Heidegger have suggested that death isn't something to be feared or conquered, but rather the very thing that gives life its urgency, beauty, and meaning. Our accomplishments matter because they're wrested from the jaws of inevitable oblivion. Our relationships are precious precisely because they're temporary. Would an endless digital existence retain what makes life worth living? Or would it become a hollow simulacrum, an eternal museum of what once was vital? The question of digital immortality isn't just about technological feasibility. It's about what we value most in our brief, bewildering existence. It's about whether the essence of humanity lies in our thoughts and memories, the software, if you will, or in the messy, mortal experience of being embodied in a world we didn't choose and cannot fully control. So I leave you with this question. If offered digital immortality tomorrow, would you accept? Would you trade the rich uncertainty of mortal existence for the unknown wilderness of digital eternity? And most importantly, why? Share your thoughts in the comments below. After all, this might be the most important decision our species ever makes. A choice between embracing our mortality or transcending it. Between remaining human as we've always understood it, or becoming something new entirely. Until next time, remember, in a world obsessed with extending life indefinitely, perhaps the true wisdom lies in learning to live fully within our limits.